Subscribe to English Hub to achieve fluent English.
Mastering English starts with a simple yet powerful step: believing in yourself. When you picture your success and take small steps toward it, you set the foundation for fluency and confidence to grow. When I started teaching English, one of my first students was a boy named James. James was from a small town in Ohio and always seemed nervous in class. He hardly spoke during lessons and would look down at his desk when I asked him questions. One day, during a one-on-one session, he said, "I do not think I will ever speak English fluently." He looked so defeated that I could not help but feel for him. I smiled and said, "James, fluency starts with believing it is possible. Can you imagine yourself speaking English confidently?" He looked at me, confused. "Imagine?" he asked. I nodded. "Yes, close your eyes and picture yourself having a conversation with someone in English. Can you see it? Can you feel it?" At first, James laughed and said, "That sounds silly." But I encouraged him to try. Every morning, James stood in front of the mirror and said, "I am improving my English every day." He told me that even though he felt awkward at first, it became easier with time. Slowly, his attitude began to change. Within a few months, James started raising his hand in class. He still made mistakes, but he smiled through them, and his hesitation disappeared. James taught me something important that day. Believing in yourself is the first step to success. Like James, I want you to imagine yourself speaking English with ease. Picture yourself chatting with friends, making new connections, or even giving a speech in English. See yourself smiling, feeling proud, and enjoying the moment. It all begins with this vision. The power of positive thinking. I also remember one of my students, Amanda, a shy girl from California. Amanda loved writing stories, but she refused to share them in English. She was afraid people would laugh at her mistakes. One day, I asked her, "What would it look like if you were confident in English?" She thought for a moment and said, "Maybe I would read my story to the class without feeling scared." I said, "Exactly. Keep that picture in your mind. Let it guide you." From that day on, Amanda wrote a small sentence on her notebook every morning. "I will speak English confidently one day." She repeated it to herself whenever she felt discouraged. Slowly but surely, Amanda's confidence grew. A year later, she stood in front of the class and read a short story she had written. Her voice was clear and her smile lit up the room. This is the power of positive thinking. Your thoughts can shape your reality. If you think, "I will never be good at English," you might not try hard enough. But if you tell yourself, "I am improving every day," your actions will follow, and you will see progress. Tip: write a positive sentence about your English journey. It could be something simple like, "I am learning English step by step." Repeat it to yourself daily. This small habit can make a big difference. Your goals are your stepping stones. Another student, Michael, loved sports and dreamed of becoming a soccer coach. But there was a problem. Most of the coaching materials were in English, and Michael struggled to understand them. "Coach, I cannot learn all of this," he said during our lesson. I asked him, "What is your big goal?" Michael replied, "To teach soccer internationally." I said, "That is a wonderful goal. Now let us break it into smaller steps. What is one thing you can do today to move closer to that goal?" We decided that he would start by learning 5 soccer-related words in English every week. Words like pass, defense, and goalkeeper. He practiced using those words in sentences, and every time he learned something new, he felt more confident. Michael realized that learning English was not about doing everything at once. It was about small, manageable steps. Eventually, those small steps brought him closer to his big dream. Tip: think about your big goal with English, then break it into smaller steps. For example, if your goal is to speak fluently, start with learning a few new words every day or practicing short sentences. Small steps lead to big achievements. The mirror exercise. Sometimes the simplest practices can be the most effective. Take, for example, Sarah, a high school student from Florida. Sarah wanted to improve her speaking skills but did not have anyone to practice with. She often said, "I wish I had a partner to talk to." I told her about the mirror exercise. Stand in front of a mirror, I said, and pretend you are talking to someone in English. Talk about your day, your favorite movie, or anything you like. Do not worry about mistakes, just keep speaking. Sarah laughed and said, "You want me to talk to myself?" "Yes," I said, "because you are your best practice partner." Sarah started doing this every evening. At first, she felt a little silly, but soon it became a fun part of her routine. She would stand in front of the mirror and say things like, "Today I went to the park. The weather was nice and I saw a dog playing with a ball." This simple exercise helped Sarah build her confidence. When she spoke in class, her sentences became smoother and she felt more relaxed. Tip: try the mirror exercise for 5 minutes every day. Talk about anything that comes to mind. It might feel strange at first, but over time you will notice how much it helps your fluency. Mistakes are part of the journey. One of the most important lessons I learned as a teacher is that mistakes are not failures. They are stepping stones to success. Take Lucas, for example, a college student from Texas. Lucas loved reading English novels, but avoided speaking because he feared making mistakes. One day, he told me, "I feel like everyone will judge me if I say something wrong." I said to him, "Lucas, imagine you are learning to ride a bike. Would you expect to ride perfectly without falling even once?" He laughed and said, "Of course not." "Then why expect perfection with English?" I asked. From that day on, Lucas decided to embrace his mistakes. Every time he said something wrong, he laughed, corrected himself, and moved on. He even started keeping a notebook where he wrote down his errors and their corrections. Over time, those mistakes became valuable lessons, and Lucas grew into a confident speaker. Tip: remember, every mistake you make is an opportunity to learn. Do not be afraid to try. The more you practice, the better you will get. Believe in yourself. You might be thinking, "But this is so hard." And yes, learning English can be challenging. But remember that challenges make us stronger. Think of Anna, a single mom from New York who wanted to learn English to help her daughter with schoolwork. She struggled with pronunciation and grammar but never gave up. "I want my daughter to see that it is never too late to learn," she said. Anna's determination was inspiring. She practiced every evening after putting her daughter to bed. Slowly but surely, her English improved, and so did her confidence. She often told me, "If I can do it, anyone can." Like Anna, you have the strength to overcome challenges. Believe in yourself, take one step at a time, and do not give up. John, from fearful to fearless. John was a taxi driver in Los Angeles who dreamed of becoming a tour guide. "I can drive people around," he told me, "but I cannot explain anything to them in English." His voice was filled with frustration. I asked him, "What would it feel like if you could describe the Hollywood sign or tell stories about the city's history in English?" John paused and said, "It would feel amazing. I would feel proud." "Then let us start by imagining it," I said. Every day after his shift, John took 5 minutes to close his eyes and picture himself giving a tour in English. He imagined tourists smiling and thanking him for his stories. This small exercise made a big difference. Within a few months, John gained the confidence to practice speaking with passengers. He began by describing simple landmarks, like beaches or parks. Each small success brought him closer to his dream. Tip: if you have a specific dream connected to English, visualize it clearly. Imagine where you are, who you are speaking to, and how you feel. Let that vision motivate you. Maria. Turning doubts into goals. Maria, a nurse from Chicago, struggled with medical English. She wanted to work in a hospital where she could interact with patients from different backgrounds, but she doubted her ability. "What if I say something wrong and confuse a patient?" she asked me nervously. I told Maria about the power of setting small, clear goals. Instead of focusing on everything you do not know, focus on one thing you can improve this week, I suggested. Maria decided to start with common phrases like, "How are you feeling today?" and "Do you need any help?" She practiced these sentences with her family at home, repeating them until they felt natural. The next week, she added new phrases related to her daily work, like, "Please take a deep breath," or "Let me check your blood pressure." Maria began to see progress almost immediately. Each new phrase she mastered boosted her confidence. Within a year, she was chatting comfortably with patients and even training other nurses on how to communicate effectively in English. Tip: choose one small goal at a time. Maybe it is learning 5 new phrases or practicing a specific conversation. Focus on progress, not perfection. David, learning through stories. David was a high school student who loved movies but hated grammar exercises. "I want to learn English, but those boring worksheets do not help," he complained. I asked him, "What if you could learn English through the things you enjoy?" His face lit up. Together, we came up with a plan. David chose his favorite movie, The Avengers, and started watching it with subtitles in English. He paused the movie whenever he heard a word he did not know, wrote it down, and practiced using it in sentences. After a few weeks, David's vocabulary had grown significantly. He even started mimicking the characters' lines to improve his pronunciation. "Learning English feels like an adventure now," he told me with excitement. Tip: use what you love, movies, music, books, to make learning English fun. The more you enjoy the process, the more progress you will make. Sophia, a busy mother from New York, always said she did not have time to practice English. My day is packed with work, kids, and chores, she explained. I suggested she try something small. Spend 5 minutes every morning practicing English before starting her day. Sophia decided to create a simple morning routine. She wrote positive affirmations like, "I am learning English step by step," and repeated them while preparing breakfast. She also kept a notebook in the kitchen where she wrote down one new English word each morning and made a sentence with it. For example, one day she learned the word delicious and wrote, "The pancakes I made today are delicious." Within a few months, Sophia noticed a big improvement. She felt more comfortable using English during grocery trips and parent-teacher meetings. "Those 5 minutes changed everything," she said. Tip: start your day with a small English practice. It could be affirmations, learning one new word, or even reading a short paragraph. A little effort every day adds up to big results. Carlos was an electrician who often worked in homes where English was the main language. "I understand a little," he said, "but when someone asks me a question, I freeze." To help Carlos, I gave him a simple exercise. Write down common phrases and questions he might hear on the job. For example, "Where should I install the light switch?" Or, "Can you explain how this works?" Carlos practiced these phrases at home by saying them out loud. When he was at work, he tried using them in real situations. At first, he stumbled, but the homeowners were patient, and he gained confidence with each conversation. One day, Carlos told me, "I had a full conversation with a client in English today. It felt amazing." Tip: think about the English you need for your daily life. Practice phrases and sentences that are directly useful to you. Real-life practice builds confidence faster than anything else. Elena, a college student from Arizona, was afraid of speaking English because she did not want to make mistakes. "What if people laugh at me?" she asked. I shared a story with her about one of my own embarrassing mistakes when learning a new language. "Mistakes are proof that you are trying," I said. "The more mistakes you make, the faster you learn." With this encouragement, Elena started speaking more during our lessons, even if she made errors. She kept a mistake journal where she wrote down every mistake she made and the correct way to say it. Over time, her fear of mistakes disappeared. One day she laughed and said, "Now I feel weird if I do not make a mistake. It means I am not challenging myself enough." Tip: do not be afraid of making mistakes. Each one is a stepping stone to fluency. Write them down, learn from them, and keep going. Each of these students, John, Maria, David, Sophia, Carlos, and Elena, started their English journey by imagining their success. They set small, achievable goals, found ways to make learning enjoyable, and embraced the challenges along the way. As you read these stories, think about your own journey. What is your vision? What small steps can you take today to get closer to it? Remember, every great achievement starts with a simple belief. I can do this. Keep that belief strong, and you will see how far it takes you.